Hey everyone, Robin from Backscatter here, and today we're taking a look at the Panasonic Lumix S1, the first full-frame mirrorless camera from Panasonic. This is one of the best tools for capturing both sharp photos and stunning 4K 60p video, so let's dive in and see why we're calling this our favorite dual-purpose full-frame mirrorless camera of the year. There are actually three cameras in the S1 lineup. The S1, the S1R, and S1H. Our review solely focuses on the S1, whose strength is low light performance, as opposed to the S1R with its higher resolution 47 megapixel sensor. The S1H has not yet been released at the time of this video, but it's going to be capable of internally recording up to 6K video, so we'll bring you an update on that when it comes out a little later this year. The S1's 24 megapixel sensor produces beautiful still images with sharp detail and great dynamic range. The low light performance of the sensor is awesome. It produces low noise images shot at high ISO values. This is a great camera for shooting with only ambient light or no strobes and getting nice detail from those brightest highlights and darkest shadows. Even though the S1 might not be the leader of the pack in terms of image resolution at only 24 megapixels, the still image quality really shouldn't be discounted. It definitely exceeded our expectations when it came to image detail, color, contrast, and clarity, and what this camera lacks in megapixels, it more than makes up for with low light excellence. The S1 stands out among full-frame cameras by offering 4K video resolution at 60 frames per second with excellent, vivid underwater color and super sharp detail. 4K 60p video is great for capturing a much more fluid and lifelike sense of motion, and also getting some excellent detail when displayed on a 4K screen. You can slow 60 frames per second down to 30 frames per second to not only double the duration of your clip, but also help stabilize it and give that nice slow motion effect that works so well underwater. The only other full-frame camera that can record 4K at 60 frames per second is the Canon 1DX Mark II, and it has a price tag about double that of the S1. So if pro-level video is what you're after, then the S1 is really a solid choice, and it's a more affordable alternative choice of camera. 4K 60p is captured from an APS-C or 1.5 times crop portion of the sensor, while 4K 30p is oversampled from the entire sensor. The S1 captures an almost perfect ambient light custom white balance, but it still isn't quite a match for the gold standard produced by Canon cameras. Now, this is really fine because the results are close enough and there's enough color information to easily color correct perfectly with just a single click in post. For most of our test shots, the color correction was barely even noticeable between the original clip and the finished product. The color produced in camera has a little bit more of a green and cyan color cast to it, which you notice most in any neutral areas. With just a single click white balance correction in post, you can bring those neutral areas back up to a more natural, warmer color tone. The white balance correction is so easy, and the in-camera color is so close to perfect that it is a non-issue. Manual white balance color results looked great down to about 50 feet, and the results produced in camera actually appeared to be a little bit shallower than the actual depth they were shot at, so color correction and little touch-ups were even easier. Executing a white balance is super simple, and it only requires 3 button activations. There's 4 white balance banks to store multiple white balances for different depths or shooting with or without your video lights. There's also some handy video tools like focus peaking and highlight warnings that can be used in both the electronic viewfinder and the LCD screen. You can use focus peaking to help determine critical focus, especially on macro subjects, and use highlight warnings to help avoid overexposing your clips. The S1 has 5.5 stops worth of in-body image stabilization, so your clips are going to be nice and smooth for that graceful, cinematic quality that we all love so much. Now, tools like these won't be found on even the most high-end optical SLRs, so the S1 has some serious video advantages built right in. The S1 uses an L-mount lens system, but at this time, there really aren't any L-mount lenses that are practical for underwater photography. Fortunately for us underwater folks, Sigma has created a lens adapter called the MC21 mount converter so that we can use Canon EF mount lenses instead of L mount lenses. For our test dives, we use the Canon 8-15 fisheye and 100mm macro lenses. There's a couple of need to know details that come along with this deal though. Our autofocus testing yielded results that were still practical, but ultimately they were the slowest among all current mirrorless and SLR cameras. The use of the adapter also restricts the camera to the autofocus single and manual focus modes only. There's no way to use autofocus continuous, so we can't use features like autofocus tracking. This isn't really that big of a deal for video shooters who are mostly going to be using AF single anyway, but it is worth noting for those photo shooters. The S1 is definitely the heavyweight among full-frame mirrorless cameras with the largest overall body and weight. Now, there aren't really any of the traditional benefits and the weight savings that you'd typically find from a mirrorless body over an SLR body. It's about the same size. But just because it's a little on the chunky side doesn't mean it's clunky. The ergonomics and the customization options are really well laid out. Just about every button is able to be reprogrammed to a ton of different functions. Many of the controls are already labeled, so you might not want to tweak them too much, but you do get 2 custom function buttons on the front of the body and the ability to reassign the directional pad buttons, which gives you 6 custom buttons to assign to whatever preferred functions you like. The quick menu is totally customizable, allowing you to tailor every option within, and it even has separate quick menus for video and photo modes. This makes it super easy to have your most needed settings just a single button press away. There are 3 custom modes on the mode dial that can be programmed for your favorite jump settings, and you can even rename these to whatever you want. The camera doesn't keep separate exposure settings between video and photo modes, so the custom modes can be really useful for quick swaps without having to individually change multiple settings on the camera. The Panasonic Lumix S1 is our pick for the best dual-purpose, full-frame mirrorless camera of the year. If you're a shooter that needs a camera that can excel in both photo and video with an emphasis on low light performance, the S1 is a great choice. Still shooters are going to love the image quality and the ambient light results, but you are going to have to deal with the limited autofocus speed and functionality when using the Sigma lens adapter. Video shooters are going to be thrilled with the S1. It's got the best bang for the buck when it comes to 4K 60p video with absolutely gorgeous color and sharp detail. Only Canon cameras are producing better in-camera color right now, and even clips that required color correction didn't require much at all. Usually just a single click and color was spot on. When you also factor in the helpful video tools like focus peaking, highlight warnings, and in-body image stabilization, the S1 becomes a serious contender for even the most demanding video shooter. You'd be hard-pressed to find a comparable system that produces video results that look this good straight out of camera in the same budget range as the S1. When you can only have one full-frame mirrorless camera that has to do it all, seriously consider the Panasonic S1. Remember, your purchases from Backscatter always include free lifetime tech support, and we dive, shoot, and service everything we sell. So when you need help with your gear, you're getting it from a team with first-hand experience with all of this equipment underwater. I'm Robin from Backscatter signing off, and happy shooting.